Hello, hello, and welcome, everybody. I'm here with Michael and Caroline Anden, the minds behind Mortal Worlds. What's up, guys?
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Very well.
Here.
Awesome.
Yeah,
How's your Monday? How's your Monday treating you?
It's actually Tuesday here now.
It's been a blast so far. I barely remembered that it's a Monday. It just seems like now it's just campaign day. It's every day now.
Yeah, absolutely. It is every day. Yeah, man. Sorry about that. I forgot it's Tuesday for you guys. Just gonna swing over to the chat. We got Bogdan Digital Art here. What's up, man? Thanks for stopping by. Carol's in the chat. Hi, Carol. We got Blue in the house. How's it going, Blue? Thanks for stopping by. Into Disguise is here. Good to see you as always. Thick to Puss, my man. How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Wookiee Supremacy is here with that fire as always. What's up? Got Satellite in the house. How you doing, brother? And Johnny Cage is here with us as well, man. Yeah, we're here to talk about Mortal Worlds a little bit. Tell you what, you want to start with the trailer, and then we'll just discuss it from there?
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Just going to blow it up on my screen over here before I share. Alrighty, and here we go. Awesome, guys. So you want to tell us a little bit about Mortal Worlds, what inspired you, as well as just what's going on, what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, Mortal Worlds is inspired by so many things. I suppose we are both fans of science fantasy, as we were speaking about earlier. We're huge fans of Star Wars, legacy Star Wars, I guess we should say now, but also like
very legacy Star Wars.
Yeah, but I don't know if you remember, like Buck Rogers in the 25th century, and Flash Gordon, kind of pulp sci-fi. But also the 80s had so many green, kind of like movies like RoboCop and Predator.
Oh yeah,
Running Man. These were films which weren't afraid to kind of get down and dirty.
Yeah, Running Man is actually one I haven't heard brought up in a while, man. I love that movie.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, it was like it was one of those. It got buried a little bit under a lot of more famous movies at the time.
Yeah,
but really enjoyed all those kind of things. Aliens and Terminator. I suppose it was just before the big surge in CGI type of movies. Terminator 2 was, I guess, one of the big harbingers of the kind of the scenes. Yeah,
loved it.
So these were ones that really impacted, I think, us. And we always wanted to try and create something which was in that same kind of spirit, that was kind of about character moments as well as the action. It wasn't about necessarily, trying to change the world, in any particular direction. It was about giving the audience a real bang for their buck. And so this is how we ended up with this story. In regards to what Mortal Worlds is about, for me, it's, I guess, mostly about this central character, Cade Saiga, the guy with the sword. He kind of finds himself a little out of his depth in his job as kind of working as the protector of this planet, which is constantly under threat from kind of star pirates because there's a fuel source that everybody's fighting over. You can use it to power ships. You can use it to create super soldiers. He's kind of one of them. It's a kind of volatile energy, but most of the people who were kind of responsible for discovering this new power source didn't really know what they were messing with.
Or where it came from.
Yeah, it's come from this ancient kind of being who is the original owner of this planet. And everybody just kind of assumed that, well, this is the next great phase in humanity's progress. But really, it turns out that they've awoken a being in terms of when they've been mining for this fuel source. And it wants the world back for itself. And it's kind of always had a game plan that it's going to be returning to the world anyway to lay rule over it again. And it's going to use this guy as a kind of quarry. It's got its own champion. It's got a being called Nargan, who is probably the deadliest being around. He has been seen on the Earth for a long time, but when its ancient being has been banished for a while, it's got this champion who's going to lure Cade out by terrorizing the world until he knows that there's no way he can say no to this this fight, which is like going to be this epic fight between kind of almost two titans, except he's severely outmatched. And if he finds out, if he loses this fight against this being as well, that he's most likely going to be lined up as the kind of herald for this dark deity anyway. There's no kind of like, it's a no-win scenario.
Right.
Life force is going to be taken over, and he'll be the next kind of great force of evil. So it's a tricky situation for him, but he's doing his best to deal with it.
That sounds like a tricky situation. I like that premise too. That's pretty cool. We got Wiggle Wiggle in the chat. What's up, my man? Good to see you. Bookie Supremacy says, okay, only mild threats to promote the stream this time, Gaze. I'll get the hang of it. Now you're good, man. Any promotion or assistance is always appreciated. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Happy Dinosaurs in the house. He says, happy day, sir. Yeah, man, I do. I dig the premise to this. Michael, you're the artist on this, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he did all the artwork, and I did wrote the script and did all the editing.
Yeah, it's kind of been a labor of love, for both of us. It's kind of been difficult at times because we don't always necessarily see eye to eye in terms of the direction. Sometimes
always.
Yeah, sometimes I want to squeeze some stuff in there, and she says, "Well, there's only so much time, in the day, and
people only have so much time to read and look."
Yeah, so it kind of started off with a big script and kind of got whittled down to this 48 pages. This is where we're at now.
Plus, he is so perfectionist. There is, it would never be finished. He would still be working on it now.
It's very, very kind the way you phrase perfectionist. It's
obsessive.
Is that not the way she phrases it when the camera's off?
Yeah, little OCD. It's like if I could take 10 years on a single panel, I probably would if it wasn't for stepping in there.
And that's no exaggeration.
Yeah, so we definitely owe it to Caroline that this thing kind of like got finished, really.
Excellent. Yeah. Now your main character here, is there anything special going on with that sword? Because I know the sword is kind of prominent in most of the displays that he's in.
Yeah, the sword is comprised of a kind of a mystic element that actually comes from this kind of the center of this earth. It's a parallel earth, if you like, a kind of fantasy world. but anybody who possesses it, although it's, in a way you could say great power, great responsibility, but anybody who wields it, although they become significantly more powerful, it's like a kind of amplifier, you also run the risk of becoming kind of possessed by it. And as we mentioned earlier, there's this very great likelihood that even if he defeats this evil enforcer that's sent after him, that he'll simply become the new conduit, if you like, as a result of using this weapon against him. So it's almost like there's no way out, and he kind of discovers this along the way. There's a big temptation to just ditch the sword altogether, to avoid that risk, but then he's relatively unarmed. Normal weapons are no effect really against this being. As you can see, they get into kind of fist fights and stuff, but he's really, he's no match for it, especially without the sword.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
we had a thing about that, didn't we? I wasn't happy that the sword should go.
Yeah, there's always a lot of wrangling over the the sword, but yeah, it's a beautiful design actually. It's kind of like one of the first things I ended up designing for the story. When I nailed the design of the sword, all kinds of permutations kind of arose, I think, in our heads about what it could mean. There's actually a little rune inside of it, which is like a skull kind of insignia. And when we first designed that, we started discussing, well, is there any kind of significance in that sword? It looks a little evil, even if it's supposed to be the hero's sword. Is there something that we could, explore in that? So this is how we ended up with this sticky situation, if you like, for this main character.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's cool. I dig it's a very simplistic design, yet it's also not so much when you get down toward the hilt and the pommel. Yeah, I dig that. We got Rot 10 Glory in the house. What's up, man? Thanks for dropping that link. Mogwai Centurion's here. What's up, my man? Good to see you. We got Dositu in the house. Howdy, howdy. Good to see you guys back. Yeah, we're just discussing Mortal Worlds here with Michael and Caroline. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of these other characters we see back here?
Yeah. Excuse me. So the guy, the big head, if you can see there at the back, guy in the mask, that's an interesting character to me, because although you might think that Cade is the one in the front and center, that he's the one who's wrestling with a lot of stuff going on, all of these characters do have their own dilemmas that they're dealing with. And so each one has a kind of like a weakness, which is kind of bolstered. They're kind of shored up. The weaknesses are kind of cancelled out, hopefully, by other people that they team up with. So in terms of the guy with the mask, he can't take this mask off, and he's been kind of cursed to wear it. He doesn't even know his own identity. It's kind of like he's been brainwashed, and he's really mad about that. He wants to find out who did this. It was like kind of like a bit of a Man in Black situation, when they do the mind wipe thing on him, and he kind of suspects everybody. He doesn't know who did this to him or why, but he kind of figures that if he finds out his true identity, then he'll regain his sense of purpose. But he ends up siding with Cade Saiga, because although they kind of seem like they could be enemies at first, it seems they've got a common enemy they got to take down. And so hopefully things will work out in that sense, that this guy isn't going to fly off the handle if he discovers that it was actually Cade, who kind of imprisoned him in that thing. But he's got a sword as well, you can see there, and he's every bit a match for Cade as well. But he's more of a kind of like a freebooter type. He's the kind of more of a Han Solo type than a kind of. Whereas Cade is slightly more of a kind of the naive kind of, well, not naive, but more kind of earnest Captain America type.
And he's not on the front cover, but he's got a really irascible robot sidekick called Bavasso.
Yeah,
he's the most cynical of beings.
Oh yeah,
is that the fellow on the left there?
Yeah, he's not on the cover, but yeah, there's a robot pilot. They get around these robot pilots.
Yeah, he's my favorite. He really is my favorite character.
They do, but I mean, if you have robots, why not have a robot, right?
Yeah, yeah. Do you know when George Lucas was first coming up with C-3PO, I gather he was going to be much more of a kind of like a kind of a surly New York cab driver type,
Hey,
kind of gruff, and he that never came to be, I guess, because when Anthony Daniels kind of put on the costume, it became his own character, really. So we
Right.
never got to see that kind of, this kind of hard-bitten C-3PO, kind of cynical, maybe a bit aggressive. So I suppose when I first read about that kind of insinuated its way a little into my mind, and I thought, what would this kind of character be like?
Yeah. Some of the original concepts from Star Wars that didn't actually make it into the movies are interesting.
Oh yeah. There's some crazy stuff in there that never got to.
Yeah, if you see the concept art books, there's some really good stuff in there that didn't make it.
Yeah, that's something that always fascinates me. That the what could have beens, the stories like Superman Lives, that kind of Nicolas Cage film that they never got made. But
every time I hear that, I giggle.
Cage in that role.
Yeah, anything that sounds like almost too crazy to be true. Kind of fascinating.
Well, Wookiee Supremacy says, I'm so glad to hear someone use the word identity without referring to a character's hang up with their genitals. There you go. Good job.
Hey, Wookiee.
Yeah. There's not really much of that.
There's none of that. No, there's no proselytizing, no political correctness. None of that.
I've never been very good at soapboxing, so even if I wanted to kind of convert people to some sort of agenda, I'd be the last person to be any good at it. I think people's eyes would just roll over.
Yeah, I get you on that one. It's just not interesting.
Yeah, all of these, as I said, all of these characters, they've got their own deal. They're not kind of tortured souls or anything, but they're kind of like they've got the bit of a tunnel vision. They've got their own mission. It's just they happen to align more or less with this guy, Cade, in terms of there's bigger threats to deal with than their own personal animosities.
Yeah,
So
and I think those make some of the best characters. The bandwagon groups where everybody's just all looking to serve the same purpose. I don't find all that interesting usually. Every once in a while it can work, but when it's a lot of like different lost souls coming together for the same purpose, that's much more interesting to me.
Yeah. It's kind of a classic trope. I think it's partly this idea that like each individual, they may have like their own strengths and weaknesses, but when you meet the right person, that it can reinforce. It can you can find strength in in other people's differences. If you know where to look. So something like again, we're back referring to Star Wars, but just about any kind of Joseph Campbell type legendary story, they seem to have those kind of things where you'll get somebody going on a journey or a quest, and they meet somebody who maybe is an expert or has certain abilities that they don't have, and and over time they build up this kind of into a whole. Always makes a more of interesting story than somebody who can do it all by themselves. So it kind of helps to avoid that Mary Sue kind of situation.
Yeah,
absolutely. Oh, that drove me up the wall with Star Wars, the Mary Sue thing. I'm a Jedi with no training at all. Sorry, I'll get off my soapbox, but that was.
Oh no, you're fine. It's I understand how you feel because I grew up on Star Wars. Star Wars was my first love when it comes to any kind of entertainment, and it's I know it seems it's old and tired. We're tired of hearing about it, but man, every time it comes up, I'm just like I get that flame comes right back. I'm like, damn it, what did they do to Star Wars?
That original trilogy, I don't think that will ever change. It's just the original trilogy in isolation, I think. I kind of erased the rest. But then even the prequels look like works of genius next to what came after.
Yeah. It's funny how time can sometimes, it can
make
give you
more
a new
forgiving.
give you a fresh perspective. Sometimes you need to see something go really bad before you can appreciate the good in something.
There is still good in here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was. Man. Yeah. We got Simon in the house. What's up, Simon? Thanks for dropping those links, my man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, hey, Steve.
Happy Dinosaur says, "Sir, does your comic come with a Mr. T trading card?"
We didn't think of that actually. Maybe it's not too late. Let's see how much more demand we get.
Maybe it could be a stretch goal.
Yeah. No, I definitely, I love the A-Team as well. Growing up, they had such kind of crazy shows.
I love the A-Team.
Especially back in the 80s, everything was kind of like an action show of some sort, or it was some kind of show revolving around some advanced kind of vehicle weapon. There'd be a car, or there'd be a helicopter or a bike, or there'd always be crazily advanced for their time.
Yeah.
I guess they were all competing to be the next Knight Rider or whatever it was.
Like Knight Rider as well.
Yeah,
all those things are fun to watch.
That was a bit of a competition there for a while. You got Level 6 in the house, Hale, my man. Yeah, do you remember that Viper series that came out? I think in the early 90s.
I miss Viper, but I caught a little bit of it on. I think when YouTube first kind of like got cranking up. I was really fascinated to see. They had all kinds of intros of American shows which never got shown in the UK, and so we never really realized that it was just like the tip of the iceberg what we were getting in the UK, because those are the kind of shows that I preferred. Most UK created shows were much more kind of like dry kind of drama. People arguing about what kind of brand of tea all the American shows were so much more exciting,
much better.
Yeah, we had a lot of action going on, especially like in 80s, early 90s. And the cartoons, man, I miss the Saturday morning cartoons. Those were some good times.
What I also miss is the the music that gets overlooked a lot. I think the amazing opening title music and stuff for these these cartoons.
Yeah, you're right.
And the shows, there was just kind of a sense of optimism and excitement. And now I think everything's a little too kind of a bit too muted. Some shows don't even have any opening credit music at all.
Yeah, I know.
I know what they're going for. They're looking for kind of a more of a grounded, kind of feel. But I do miss that when people would just go, all in, kind of balls to the wall.
Although things like Saul, by the time the opening credits come up, you've forgotten that you haven't had them.
Yeah.
It's about half an hour. It's already gone.
It's like they just want to get them out of the way, don't they?
Yeah, it seems to be the case. Rotan Glory says, subscribe to Double Vision Comics YouTube.
Oh.
Please do so.
Thank you, Wiggle Wiggle. I see you're a new sub.
Nice. Wookiee Supremacy says, I keep hearing about how people wished for the weirdest things in comics. I remember wanting Peter to dump MJ. That was about as far as romance in comics goes. Used to be. Now it's romance in Starbucks. Seems to be the thing.
Yeah, I suppose that if you asked all of the audience what kind of shows would you like to have, I guess a lot of people who are in charge of mass media, they're worried that the audiences would all ask for something which is just unworkable or something, or too nostalgic. Do you ever remember that episode of The Simpsons where they got Homer to design his idea of what the perfect car is?
Yeah. Now that you say that, I do remember it, but it's very foggy to me.
It was like so they kind of thought, Homer, he's like he's the everyman. He tells it like it is, just because he made some kind of passing comment in a I think it was a kind of a marketing meeting. They when they bring people in like a test audience or something like that, but it was for a car company, and they were kind of shocked at how just normal he was, that he was not at all affected by sales and marketing, and thought, this is the average consumer, this is the guy we want to target, for our cars. Let him design the perfect car, and it would appeal to the most people. And then when they went and actually designed it and unveiled it to the audience, everyone was shocked that it was like the worst design car anyone's ever seen. It was just like like
that's Homer
T
all over.
Thunderbird, with like a bubble canopy and all kinds of garbage, like screwed onto it, trumpets and.
That's so Homer though.
that was hilarious. But at the same time, I think that that's how maybe a lot of people are worried that that's what the public would just ask for, things that are just so silly, because we're not supposed to be artists in our own right, or creators. They're supposed to do all of that, and we're just the ones who watch,
Consume.
Yeah.
Well, there's a
But-
certain truth to that, though. There are some people
Yeah.
that would ask for some pretty silly things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that it doesn't hurt to just ask and listen, and they could probably just decide for themselves. Maybe there's something in there that we're missing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think focus groups are important, and that's kind of a problem, I think, with focus groups, especially nowadays, is they're not really designed to be focus groups. I don't see the point of a focus group if you handpick a certain population that is going to tell you everything,
Yeah.
that you want to hear, that goes along with what you're already doing.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the
Yeah.
case a lot of times.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. The
It's
tail
really
wagging
gone
the
that way as well. Yeah, the tail wagging the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with science too. Like I am so disappointed with science nowadays. I mean, for a long time, actually. People pay for a result now, and that's horse shit to me. The whole point of science was discovery, man. We're not discovering anything. We're discovering what you're paid to discover, and that's BS.
Yeah, and paid to state, and anything that it doesn't go along with that is just ignored or kind of what's the word? Retconned.
Yeah. Well, swept under the rug.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, when I was mentioning earlier, quite fascinated with things that never kind of came to be. You heard of Nikola Tesla?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's such a fascinating guy to me. To think that maybe if he had been given a kind of a better deal, that at the time, because I think a lot of people tried to railroad him and kind of drive him underground, because his ideas were maybe just too kind of out of whack.
Yeah, there's a company making a lot of money out of him at the moment.
Yeah, but the world could have been quite different. And I think he was like a big proponent that there was free energy available. That it may have changed the world, really, because if the world was kind of independent in terms of that, if it wasn't dependent on oil reserves and all that kind of business, that maybe the world would have moved on from a lot of problems, and we'd be fighting over a lot less resources.
I think you're right, and that's a big problem with the world anymore. Also, is just the fact that we've kind of have these two sides. We have big government versus big business, and they're constantly fighting each other. Well, they have people fighting on their behalf is the problem. And what a lot of people I don't think realize is that they're both the problem. They're intertwined. They're both the problem.
Yeah. But I think that when we try to create these stories, a lot of the time it's because we always wonder, what if we need to get some kind of answer, and if the real world isn't the end all. Fantasy, it can be a big it can be a big strength as well. You can find a lot of hope in fantasy as well. It doesn't even have to kind of be about anything. Sometimes it's just a release, and it's something that I enjoy to entertain all the time. I've got quite a big imagination, so as Caroline, we like to talk about all kinds of topics, just like we're doing here. We like to think that we're pretty open-minded, and we like to explore all kinds of topics. And we really all the time try to encourage other people as well to open up. And if you got some kind of idea that nobody wants to hear you out on, we'd probably be quite interested, because we like to explore that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, isn't it? I mean, that's why it's called escapist entertainment. We don't we don't need what we're living every day to be in what we're seeking out to get away from it.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and escapist entertainment doesn't need to be bogged down in every single facet of reality. There are a lot of people who like to nitpick over every little detail and say, well, that couldn't happen, or that isn't realistic, or that doesn't look like anything that's in the real world. And I'm always usually the first to say, well, yeah, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just interrupt? I'm just laughing at Wookiee supremacy. He says, I think I'm too stoned to understand British. Every other word. The book looks bitchin' though.
It's not. He's bearing with us. So.
Thank you for bearing with us.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Wookiee's always stoned.
Yeah.
And that's all right. That's all right. Why don't we? Yeah, let's run over your tiers real quick. Just real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You got your featured tier. That's one comic and one art of book.
Yeah, that's the launch day, so that'll run until I think about 7 tomorrow.
Yeah, so that's the special. The special launch day perk.
Oh, okay. So get this while it's gone, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Or before it's gone. Sorry, maybe I'm stoned too.
Yeah, it's
that's the effect Mike has on everyone.
Yeah, yeah. It's a nice little package there. So the comic comes bundled with the art of book, and this is for $30. What you'll notice is that they both feature my art, which is on the one hand, on the left-hand side, this is pretty much what you'll find inside the comic, but the other one, it's not kind of line work. It's more kind of like painted work. So this is more like concept art. So
okay.
All of the kind of stuff in the book on the right, it's the making of book. It shows how these characters were developed, how the kind of the visual palette was created in terms of the technology, the costume design, and creature. It's almost like a creature shop kind of deal. I loved all of those kind of books. I kind of still do, actually. The art of and making of, to see how all kinds of properties, movies and TV shows, cartoons, toy lines, how they developed into the look that they have now that we're familiar with. It's kind of like so this making of book. It's it's kind of a goldmine if you're into all that kind of stuff as well. There's a lot to dig into there. That's a 32-page book. It's full color. It's so it's really good as a bundle if you're into all that kind of stuff.
48 pages.
Yeah, the comic's 48 pages, complete story, and the art of book, it's a 32-page one.
Oh, that's cool, man. Actually, you hooked. That makes me even more interested, to be honest, when you said the painted art, because I love concept art. That's really cool. Wiggle wiggle, thank you, sir. Bianca fights the zombies. What's up, man? He says American English and British are almost two different languages. Oh, nah, almost. I mean, then you got Australian.
Australian. No, that's totally different.
Right. DJ 2K Comics is in the house. What's up? He says, not gonna lie, the comic looks good.
Thank you.
Wiggle Wiggle says, one of my buddies I play 40K with is British, so I'm good. He also says the comic looks amazing.
Thank you.
Crackhead Jeremy's in the house. What's up, my man? Thanks for stopping by. Rotan Glory says, nice little package, Michael Andens.
Hey, Rod. Thanks for having us on earlier.
Cool. So yeah, this tier's gonna disappear, people. So I would encourage you to jump on that. I'm probably gonna jump on that. Yeah, I love concept art, especially the painted stuff. If it's like different from the comic line work and all that, I'm loving it.
I can just get lost in that kind of stuff for hours. So I figured to.
And then if they miss,
I might as well dive in there too.
If they miss that tier, then this is the art book by itself.
Yeah.
So you can still get it on its own as well, if you like. It's not going to be unintelligible if you don't get the comic with it. But just like I suppose you can pick up any art book on its own, you don't necessarily have to have the context of what it's based on to enjoy it. But so you can take a deep dive into just the art if you like, and then see if you're interested in exploring the story.
Although I have to just say that the Rise of Skywalker concept art was a hell of a lot better than the film.
Oh yeah. Normally, there's very little that's problematic. I think in terms of even with something like Star Wars, the visual design teams, they're still the best in the business. It's just when it comes to the final execution, things get let down. But hopefully we've got the balance right. I think we've worked just as hard on the script, if not harder, than on the visual aspect of this. But the audience will decide.
Cool, man. Yeah, definitely. And then you can get the comic by itself. But yeah, I would encourage everybody to jump on this featured tier while it lasts, because that's a hell of a deal. And
yeah, that's right.
have you?
Lauren's mentioning that this is a free shipping. So if what you're looking at here does grab you, if this is the kind of genre that you're into, or even if it's just the art, if that doesn't grab you, then the very fact that you got free shipping on this, it's still you got to get on this, because it's not necessarily going to be something that we're always going to be doing, but at the moment it is free shipping.
Wow, yeah, definitely. It's an even better deal than I thought it was. Wookiee Supremacy says, I start off hearing everything, but then I lose focus, and a couple seconds later, it's another language. He's still on
it. Well, still on the accent.
Just as well, I guess he's still a Star Wars fan.
Right. Ratan Glory says, Chimera has arrived. Indeed, he has. What's up, Chimera? I just got SOS a couple days ago. Awesome book. If you guys haven't picked that up yet, I'm pretty sure it's still in demand. Go grab it. If I'm not, Chimera, please correct me. But yeah, don't miss that. And SOS Onslaught is also happening right now. So check that out.
SOS Onslaught, if I could just say, I believe that does have a Simon Bisley cover, I think. Or
it does. Yes, and that original artwork is for sale also.
Yeah, I just that's an amazing kind of coup. I think again, getting an artist of that caliber on a CG book, the more the merrier, I believe. The pros who are willing to work in Comicsgate, be associated with it, or be out and proud Comicsgate, I think it's all for the better. I think we should welcome everybody who wants to work in it, because it raises everybody's profile and helps to create amazing books. Yeah, big fan.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Wookiee Supremacy says, I just got my Trump check. You know what I'm doing. All right. Well, that weed might be helping you guys out a little bit here. Johnny Cage says, you don't have to think about the Rise of Skywalker when you have Sunsworn. Well, thank you, sir.
That's very true.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what we're kind of on the same page as far as that goes. That was I actually started writing Sunsworn the January following The Last Jedi, because I just got tired of hearing all the bullshit. And I decided to write something better.
Well, this is it. This is what I was talking about, that when you get inspired from other people, creating trash fires out of beloved properties, that's maybe the time when to pick up the gauntlet and say, well, I can run with this. I can create something which I think is missing out there.
If you're going to burn our home, we're going to build a new one.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Well said.
Thank you. Yeah, that's just that's it, man. As far as I'm concerned, I do enjoy the Mandalorian series, but man, Star Wars is gone. It really is gone.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's long gone.
Yeah, it's interesting that one of the things that I keep hearing from people who still carry the torch for the Star Wars sequels, Kennedy, Star Wars, they say not just that it's not for you, but they'll say, well, you're just being nostalgic. You would love Star Wars every bit as much if you were the same age. But actually, from what I understand, even people of every age, it doesn't impact them the way it used to. Granted, there's a lot more material out there and there's internet and everything, but no, I think that there was something special, kind of magic, which has been lost, in a lot of popular media. And I think it's because now they are done by committee. They're not done from the heart. And so we're all trying to get back to that, I think, and the audiences respond to that. So, whether it be Sunsworn or Mortal Worlds or SOS, these things are all done from the heart, and it's always good to get feedback from the audience directly and listen to them, as opposed to be afraid of them.
Talking about feedback from the audience, Crackhead Jeremy 33 says, "You mean you guys aren't Raylos?" No, we're not Raylos.
Yeah,
not in the least.
No, we're not doing
there could have been could have been a place for that, but it wasn't set up properly, and it was just nothing was set up properly. Everybody, it was like a bunch of mice running around trying to grab their own piece of cheese. That's pretty much what the sequel trilogy ended up being.
Yeah.
It's such a shame that that there's no proper dialogue, because we've got the internet, we've got social media, you've got these huge corporations. They've got direct access to everybody. They could speak, much more like equals, but instead it's like the audiences are just seen as being in the way. So we've all just kind of decided, okay, well, we're not going to get in your way. We're just going to do our own thing then instead. So which turns out is even more fun.
Definitely, and that's also something I think we need to focus on a little more. Is yes, they're utterly obliterating everything we love, but at the same time, we're all coming together from that. I've met a ton of people that I would have never met otherwise. A ton of good people doing great things, and introducing new properties that, who knows, in a few years it might be bigger.
Yeah,
especially the way they're running it down.
Exactly. Yeah. Every cloud.
Yeah. So, I mean, every time I see that hashtag, thank you, Rian Johnson, pop up, I tend to use it and say, thank you, Rian Johnson, for, causing a problem, but it's a problem that brought a lot of good people together.
Yeah.
He inadvertently, I think, brought up so many people together, kind of in one voice. It's quite amazing.
Single-handedly, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it really was him. I mean, I think if JJ had control over the entire trilogy, it might have sucked a bit, but I think it would have been a forgivable suck. But Rian Johnson really drove that stake into the heart of all the fans. Man.
Yeah. I think people were still expecting to have fun after Force Awakens. So I think that's kind of roundabout when people started to realize, so there's something wrong here. By the time Last Jedi came around, people thought things have taken a weird turn.
I think people were really, really fed up. That's putting it politely.
Yeah, they were fed up. I mean, it all kind of started when they canned the the expanded universe. People were pissed off enough about that, but then they took the expanded universe and just cherry picked all the ideas from it, threw it into this garbage blender, and just like they couldn't even execute. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to steal ideas, at least execute.
It's funny how there's like so much disrespect for all the people who created all of that content, because they kind of said, they literally said, well, there was nothing to mine. There was nothing to mine there. There was no content. After
Oh my God, yes. Oh, when Kennedy said that, man, if we were in the same room, there'd have been a charge.
Yeah.
Johnny Cage says things
for most of us.
Yeah,
that really made me laugh, but it kind of really kind of set in stone for me that they really aren't ever going to be listening. They're really it's all hands to the mast.
It was a deliberate. I think she said it deliberately to wind up the fandom.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think they say a lot of things to wind up the fans, and it's working. Johnny Cage says things like The Mandalorian and Clone Wars are good entertainment, but then you remember everything surrounding them in the main story. Yeah, that's the problem. Spot on.
Yeah, it's difficult to separate it all. I guess it's possible just to enjoy it in its own right, but when you kind of realize that ultimately it's not going to amount to anything, it's not really going to lead anything amazing or truly climactic, that's where the disappointment lies. And a large part of enjoying something like Star Wars, that it all means something, it's all heading towards something which matters. So like with the prequels, we all knew that it was going to end up in this ultimate showdown between Ben Kenobi and Anakin, and even with the original trilogy, everybody wanted to know what was going to be the outcome. This battle between the rebels and the Empire, and Luke versus Vader and the Emperor. It all meant something, and that had all been earned by the character developments.
Absolutely.
But it really just seemed like a paint by numbers. What JJ was doing with The Force Awakens, it was okay. I think most people thought, but everyone kind of assumed it was at least building up to something. So he had people's goodwill.
Right.
We had some faith still, but now that that's all gone, we look to have faith in something else. Whether it be other creators or creating their own content.
Yeah, that's what we have now, and it's it's okay. I've made peace with it. I still get pissed, but I've made peace with it.
Yeah, I guess I think I'm in the same place. So I'm just laughing at Johnny Cage saying character development, explain to Ray what that means. It sums it up, doesn't it?
Wealth and Glory, corporations need to get the boot when it comes to creating art. Difficult in film, but when it comes to comics, no excuse. Get those corporate fools out of this industry. Yeah, very well said.
Sums it up, doesn't it, really?
Yeah,
definitely.
It seems that there's all of these people who have been brought in with their focus groups and the whiteboard markers, no heart or soul at all.
Yeah, not at all. CG World Order, thanks for the $5, my man. Appreciate you, brother. He says, hail Red Gaze, hail the chat. Absolutely. Hail Comicsgate. Hail all of you. That's what I love doing this, not just because of spotlighting the creators, but man, this chat's really gotten so cool. I love the chat so much. Wookiee's premise, he says, no butt double for that Captain Marvel.
Back to that again.
yeah, Johnny Cage hit the nail on the head with that one. Wookie says, I don't care when different things went woke until it hits you where you live, then you understand. Yeah, that's true. That is true. There's been a couple precursors that came ahead of these things and didn't really care that much. I think Ghostbusters is probably where it really all started to go wrong, when people really started to get irritated.
Yeah, it's easy to forget actually, but yeah, this was like around about 2016, wasn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that was it. You're right.
Yeah, because people were, it was kind of a back and forth with The Force Awakens. Some people liked it, some people didn't. Some people were like, oh, it's just way too much nostalgia, which I agree with. But I was one of those people that defended it and said, well, just they had to use that much nostalgia. Maybe not that much. They might have went a little overboard, but they needed nostalgia to kind of bring people back and to reintroduce it to new fans. Just give them a chance, see what they do next. And then The Last Jedi came out, and I said, never mind. Forget everything I said. I was wrong.
Yeah, it seemed to have good intentions, The Force Awakens. So I think everybody was prepared, to kind of see it through, to where it was heading. When Ghostbusters came out, the old female Ghostbusters, again, I think it wasn't so much that people hated the movie. It was that when they expressed their opinion about hating the movie, there was a kind of unprecedented backlash against those critics of the movie. I don't think that audiences were used to getting spoken to like that just for voicing their opinion, with their dislike of a movie, that all of a sudden they were getting called misogynists and racists, and this was seemed to be kind of new. This is a turning point.
Where that started?
Well, I think it was kind of a watershed for me.
Yeah,
I don't remember kind of leading actors or actresses, producers, directors, calling out the fandom, calling them names, as opposed to just staying professional, or keeping their opinions to themselves and just like either trying to do better, or if they wanted to defend themselves, to do it in a better way, which I think people used to do. But I guess they would say that the level of backlash against that film was unprecedented, but I don't think that was the case at all. Yeah,
it was just, it was amplified because of the internet, and it might have been unprecedented in a sense, only because they went to extremes first, and that's what happens. They go to extremes, people get upset about the extremes, and then they amplify the extremes because, oh, now I have an excuse to call you a misogynist or a racist or whatever, when really you should just keep your effing mouth shut and just take the criticism. Or better yet, say, we understand how you feel. We'll see what we can do. Like the Sonic movie, that's a perfect example. I don't give half a shit about Sonic, but I went out and saw that movie because they listened to the fans.
I really hope that's kind of starts a precedent. I hope that movie continues to do well, because when people when people feel that they can ask for what they want, and a corporation actually responds, like it's comprised of living beings, living humans, rather than just there's a kind of a tick box of, well, if people say they're unhappy, then we don't speak to them. They're the enemy. Uh, that's just a recipe for disaster. So
It
I hope
is.
more people kind of take their influence from who was it who did the Sonic movie? Was that Sony?
Oh, who was? I don't even remember who did it.
Yeah,
It was.
I think we need to we need to dig into that one, because it's worth giving them credit where it's due.
Yeah, you're definitely right. CG World Order says, "What's everyone's thought on Taika Waititi slated to do a Star Wars film?" I'm not thrilled about that. Do you know who that is?
Either.
I actually enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. For what it was kind of light-hearted. I don't think it really contributed anything to the MCU overall. But so I think he could do a decent movie, as long as he wasn't trying to appease to other people, who are just telling him, well, it's got to be all about the power of whamming or whatever it is. Just tell a normal adventure story, even if it's Natalie Portman in the lead. Doesn't mean you have to kind of emasculate Chris Evans or anything like that.
But I
Just
suspect that's what will
yeah,
happen.
yeah. We've already kind of seen an emasculated Chris, Thor in the MCU
And in
Oh,
Ghostbusters.
Endgame. Just
yeah. So it's like, okay, all right, we get it. You've had your fun, but maybe just concentrate on what you're good at, which is giving audiences entertainment.
Yeah, and even if you just focus on the entertainment, and he's another one that likes to go on Twitter and shoot his mouth off, and that's part of the problem. It's a big part of the problem. I think if they just engage these people a little bit more respectfully, I don't think we'd have half the issues that we have.
Yeah. Sometimes I think that they might just be trying to make someone else happy, like Chris Evans. I think he is probably he believes in everything he's saying in terms of what he believes is kind of all these alt-right influences in the country. I think he's let it gun to his brain that he thinks he's Captain America. He's surrounded by
Captain Marvel.
He's surrounded by the troops of the Red Skull or whatever, but he may have been doing this a bit too long. And, he's lost focus on reality. But Chris Hemsworth, I like the fact that when the interviews were happening with Brie Larson, I think to promote Endgame, he seemed quite tired of it.
With eye roll, do you remember?
Yeah.
That was an excellent interview. Yeah, that was entertaining to watch.
Yeah. He was like, "Get me out of here," So.
And the way they kept persisting and slowing it right down, that was just
yeah. There was some funny memes at least that came out of that.
Definitely. Level 6 says all Star Wars movies will be woke until they convince women to like it. I think there's a fair amount of women who do like it. It's not who they're appealing to. They're appealing to feminists. And there's a big difference.
I agree.
Yeah, that's entirely true. It was never a case that it didn't appeal to women. It was never a case that it didn't appeal to people of color or anything like that. Everybody who's always been into Star Wars. It was always still, though, it was a genre movie. It's a science fantasy movie. It's never going to taken away from. Yeah, it's never going to have the appeal, of football or baseball. That's not what it's for. It's a mass market movie, but it's still it's a movie. And I think that believing that there is this untapped audience all of the time, which is just dying to be into Star Wars or whatever, or the MCU, as long as it wasn't so sexist and racist. Well, it was never sexist or racist. That was one of the big appeals about it, is they actually embraced all kinds of things. It even embraced other cultures entirely, and as far as you can imagine. That was the whole point of it. The same as Star Trek. So it's kind of crazy to think that they needed to kind of right the ship and make these things appeal to more to any particular identity. It was always about something greater than identity that brings us all together.
Well,
So,
they flipped it. It was a step aside and adventured it, didn't they? They just
Yeah.
flipped it right over.
yeah, it's just like turning the ship completely 180.
Yeah.
So my question is now, what are we going to do about it? What is Mortal Worlds going to do about it?
Well, Mortal Worlds, the main focus of it is to remind people that it's okay to have fun, and if you want to change the world, by all means, you can do that too. But it's okay to just have fun.
Crazy fast. I can't say it. Crazy fast-paced action. Yeah, it is fun. That's what it's going to do about it.
Yeah,
Drag you out the wokeness.
it's every bit as important. Well, for me, it's every bit as important. Yeah. And Caroline, if you can't have fun, we wanted to create the kind of a book which, if it was a person, you could have a beer with it. That's the best way I could describe it.
Mortal Worlds need some action figures.
I agree.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I agree. They're screaming for action figures. Those characters.
Yeah, no, I definitely love to have a couple of those on my shelf.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know about the Legend of the Five Rings, but Wookiee Supremacy says, but instead of the five rings representing the elements, he's talking about Captain Planet, I'm sorry. They'll just represent skin color.
Yeah.
Damn.
Just like a wall chart. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing that people think that instead of just being inspired to create something, that they can just just have a wall chart saying, okay, so this is a tick for the Bechdel test, and this is a tick for skin color, this is a tick for different nationalities or different cultures.
You're going to make yourself fall asleep in a minute.
Yeah, okay, everything's represented here. That's your movie. So, well, that's not a movie. That's just a kind of like.
It's CNN. Cool, guys. We picked up one backer at least. Before we close here, I just want to remind everybody, please check out Sunsworn Edge of Annihilation. This is a full-length novel. As we were talking about, inspired by the death of Star Wars, actually. Download the first 3 chapters to read here, and the featured perk is the novel as well as a visual companion to kind of introduce you to the universe with art by great artists like Carla Tornielli, Vinny, of course, Vinny Tartamella, Narwhal, Simon, Sim Potier, as well as Lakima Mir, and probably a few more. We're going to jam that full of artwork and commentary for you guys. It's a brand new trailer, so go check that out. I don't want to spend too much time. I just want to go over these other projects real quick.
Beautiful work from Vinny there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, Vinny's a hell of an artist. Speaking of Vinny, if you haven't picked up Through the Woods hardcover edition yet, I would encourage you to do that immediately. It's a beautiful book. I have it. I've reviewed it. You can check that out on the channel as well. Also, City of Venus is another great book from Vinny. That's a post-apocalyptic comic sci-fi story. Vinny at his best. This one's all Vinny. The storytelling, the artwork, all of it. Yeah, he just broke 20K, and that's awesome. But if you want to support Vinny, grab both of those. If you just want good stories, grab both of those. Also, Pillow Man and Blanket Boy by Sean Davis. This, I think, only has like 2 or 3 days left before he's closing it out on demand. That's why I wanted to bring this up quick. It's an all-ages story that he wrote with his son. He's got some beautiful artwork in here. The story looks great. So yeah, just run over there and check that out as well. I'm going to throw all these links in the description after we're finished.
I'll see some new pages from that. It looks awesome as well. That's he's really kind of knocking it out.
He is. Yeah,
check out the art on this.
He's a great artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I had him on here to talk about it earlier. I'd like to get him back on here before it's gone, but that surprised me because just the way he went through this and spoke about everything, it was really appealing, to adults as well as children. So, yeah, hop on that if you haven't already, because he's under 3,000. I think that's a crime. So, that book definitely needs some love. And Tug, that umbrella guy, is coming out with another case for the littlest umbrella here shortly. Get on this mailing list if you're not on it already. Everybody who's on the mailing list and purchases will receive a free trading card, so don't miss out. Sign up for that mailing list and make sure you confirm your email afterwards on all of these mailing lists, because if you don't confirm, you're not going to get the emails. It's not really going to sign you up. But let's get back to Mortal Worlds here. You guys want to give these guys one more pitch and let them know why Mortal Worlds is for them.
Mortal Worlds, if you want to get action adventure back into your life in terms of comic books, this is a science fantasy, I think, for the ages, because it's all about the drama and the tension and the action that you probably remember from movies like Predator and Aliens, Terminator, those kind of movies which which kind of came straight from the gut. There wasn't a lot of messing around, and it was kind of like they had a beginning, a middle, and an end. It was kind of like a direct story, and you also had characters. You had character moments. There was lines of dialogue. Kind of like you'd be riffing on and remembering and passing around with your friends.
Dive in there.
Yeah. You can dive right in. It's like right into the kind of like into the war zone here. There's no kind of like very slow build up. Wasn't quite time for that in terms of 48 pages.
Yeah.
But this is something which, if you're into that kind of genre of stuff, this will appeal to you. And it's it's kind of hero's journey type story.
Beautiful. And don't forget, the featured perk here is going to expire shortly, within about 12 hours or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so grab this up. This is the comic, 42 or 48 page comic, as well as a 32 page art book that's got some cool concept painted art in here by Michael. Yeah, I'd encourage you to grab this up while it lasts, because if you don't, you're going to be paying extra down here for both. Yeah, man. So yeah, thanks guys for coming. This is it's awesome. We'll definitely have you on again before this is out.
Oh, thank you.
And good luck to you.
Fun.
And thank you for having us.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Before we close out, let's check in with the chat a little bit. Michael Bancroft says, "Oh, cool. Love the look of this book. Awesome." Yeah, me too. Thanks for coming, man. Wookiee Supremacy says the coloring is an acid trip.
Totally.
He wants to know.
Best compliment. Thank you.
You're gonna be tripping out, man.
He's also asking about Vinny's ass tutorial. Vinny did, in fact, promise to do an ass drawing tutorial. So maybe that'll come about.
I was wondering what that was about.
Vinny's pretty busy right now, fulfilling and still drawing his next book. So give him time. I'm sure it's coming. Oh, Gargoyle, stop by. Yeah. How's it going, Oh Gargoyle? Thanks for stopping by, my man. Got Zig Comics in the house. How's it going? How's it going? Sorry, guys, we're about to close out here. Delta Spurg Force is in the house. And yeah, Back Mortal Wounds. Check out that featured here. Don't miss out, because it's not going to last much longer. CG World Order says, hail Michael Bancroft. Absolutely. Hail the chat. Hail the Andens. Thank you guys for coming. Thanks you. All the chat. Thanks for guys for coming out and participating. We love you guys. And we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks,
Peace.
everyone. Thanks, the chat.
Yeah, thanks, chat. Bye-bye.